Welcome, guys. What a great week for LSU. I'm excited to see the team. Last time I saw them was on Thursday. We had the Tiger Bowl, and we had some young guys do very well. Older guys were coaching it. Had a lot of fun. Hopefully they got to rest on Friday, Saturday, and Sunday and come back today with a great attitude. I know they will. Can't wait to see them. And we'll get on to Alabama, a big game for our football team, big game for our fans. Great week for LSU Tigers. We're looking forward to this week's of preparation. It's focusing on our football team, on our fundamentals, and our tackling, and get better. A little scouting report on Alabama's offense, as you guys probably know very well. The offense is a spread. Return start of 6, almost 50 points a game, 49 points a game, 506 yards total. Rushing 168, 338 passing. Tua is a fantastic player, as we all know. Great competitor. We totally expect him to play. Najee Harris is an outstanding running back, breaks a lot of tackles. Great wide receiver core led by Jerry Jr. is very fast. Those guys make a lot of plays. On defense, they're basically a 4-3. Only 5 returning starters, only giving up 15 points a game. Top defensive players, Jennings, Lewis, and Diggs. They're very good, very talented, play smart football. On special teams, they're very good and explosive, led by Jalen Waddell, number 17, excellent receiver. Henry Ruggs, very fast, excellent receiver, excellent return guys. Any questions?
Hey Ed, could you give us an updated status on Michael Divinity and where he's at with the team in
Sure.
this situation?
Michael Divinity has left the team for personal reasons.
And how do you see the outside linebacker depth filling in his absence?
Well, Kellerman Chasson has been taking most of the reps, so Andre Anthony is going to be there. Ray Thornton's going to be there. We should be fine.
Ed, a couple of years ago, we were in Tuscaloosa, and I asked you, and you looked at me, and you said, "We're coming."
Yeah.
What has prepared you for this moment? What's prepared your team for this moment where you feel maybe better equipped as one of the best teams in the country to take on another one of the best teams in the country?
I like our quarterback, obviously. Like the way our offense is putting points on the board. We've gotten better on the line of scrimmage on the offensive side of the football. I feel like our guys have been tested against Auburn. They've been tested against Florida. Obviously, they're going to be tested again this week. I do believe we have better depth on the defensive line. I think that our guys are equipped, and this is the best football team we've had going into this game.
Coach, how much of this game is psychology in terms of you're playing a game this week, you're not playing the previous 8 games or the game you played last year against Alabama and believing you can win?
It has nothing to do with it. Just like when we play Auburn, just like when we play Florida. What happened in the past has nothing to do with this. This is a new game, a new week, a new football team. So new players on their side, new players on our side, has nothing to do with it.
A year ago you said that if the line of scrimmage is so key to this game, and you were just saying you feel better about that now. I mean, it's primarily a lot of the same guys on the team. I guess what do you think has made the difference in a year?
Well, I think Tyler Shelton's playing better. Last year they hurt us in the run up the middle. I think Tyler's playing really, really well. He wasn't in shape last year, and it wasn't as good as his fundamentals. I think Rashard Lawrence is playing well. Glenn Logan, we have some backups that are playing very well. So I feel good about our interior. I feel good about our core. I feel good about our tackling since the Vanderbilt game. Again, we're going to be tested. They're going to make some plays, but I feel that we're very well equipped.
Coach, on your right, I know that you love D-line play. How would you evaluate Alabama's defensive line this year?
Raekwon obviously is an outstanding player. I recruited Raekwon. He uses his hands very well. They have some young players up there. They still play with great technique. They still hold the line of scrimmage. They're still good pass rushers. Are they as dominant as they've been in the past? We're going to find out. There's some new players there, some new freshmen starting. They're good players. They just don't have the experience that they had years past.
Ed, over here. When you took the job 3 years ago, you cited Alabama as the benchmark for the SEC and for your program. I'm curious, how do you compare the programs? How much ground have you all made up, you think?
Well, you can tell by the rankings, it looks like we made up some ground, but, we still got to beat them. I mean, you still got to beat them. You still got to go through them to win the SEC West against the SEC championship. We've had some tests this year. We've answered the bell, and I do believe we have tremendous leadership. I do believe we're well equipped to compete with these guys. I believe it's going to be a great game.
Off the field, the program in general, do you feel like, staffing, resources,
Well,
you feel like it all made up around there?
no question. I think the hiring of Joe Brady, I think keeping Dave Aranda, having the analysts that we have. I believe that Greg McMahon's an excellent special teams coordinator. I'll match this staff with anybody.
Ed, have you ever seen this much wide receiver talent on a field in a game like this? I mean,
No.
how do you feel like that plays into this game, and how are you prepared for Alabama's talent there?
Well, it goes to show you the direction of the SEC, the spread. And all the top players in the country have an interest in coming and playing in the SEC. So we basically can go anywhere in the country and get the top receiver. We've just been fortunate we've had great receivers here in the state of Louisiana, which all three of our receivers are from the state of Louisiana. So we're excited about that. But you know what? We're able to attract top talent across the country. We have a great wide receiver recruiting class right now. So I think it's a tribute to having a great quarterback in the spread offense.
Certainly talent and preparation matter in games like this, but does confidence, and if it does having that guy, Joe Burrow, give you that advantage?
No question. He made some comments to me already right after the last game, so he's going to be ready. He's a leader. We've been looking forward to this game, but we're not going to treat this game different than any other game. This is the next game on our schedule. There'll be bigger games down the road for us, but we understand. We have respect for Alabama. We understand what they do well. We understand what we do well. It's going to be a great game.
Ed, to your right. Just for the record, is there a possibility for Divinity to return potentially?
We're not going to close the door on that, but we'll see.
And then a plan for Grant Delpit this week?
Yeah, Grant has a slight injury. We do believe that he's going to practice a little bit today, practice a little bit tomorrow, and will be totally healthy for the game Saturday.
Now that you've faced off with Alabama a few times as a head coach, I mean, just in terms of the way you prepare with your team for it, go into the week, I mean, have you learned any lessons, I guess, in that sense?
Yeah, don't overhype it. There's going to be enough hype out there. Just, stick to the fundamentals. Although there's great wide receivers, there's great quarterbacks, you still have to win the line of scrimmage here. Last year, we didn't win the line of scrimmage. They ran the ball on us. The year before, they threw the ball on us. So, we have to play well in every area of a football team. But it just goes back to fundamental. And this week, tackling is going to be a premium. They're very dangerous with yards after contact. That's where they make most of their plays.
I think it's my turn. Hey, Coach Marty Smith from ESPN. I know you want to treat it like another game. It's one against two, man. How do you define what's at stake Saturday?
Well, SEC Championship, SEC West, going to the SEC Championship, having a chance to be in the college football playoffs, having a chance to win the national championship. I mean, that's for us is every game in the SEC. I mean, to get to where you want to go, it seems like you have to go undefeated. You have to beat Alabama. You have to keep on going, and then you have to win the SEC championship. And then you get to get college football playoffs. So if you start thinking about all that stuff, it becomes overwhelming for your football team. But we know what's at stake, but we don't talk about that. Today's going to be Tell the Truth Monday. I'm going to talk more about the Tiger Bowl than anything, but the guys that played well, because I want our guys loose and relax and go play our football game.
Coach over here, do you expect Tagovailoa to play?
Sure.
And that answers that question. And do you think that if either one of these teams gets to the end with one loss, that the one-loss team deserves to be in the playoff?
I can see that. Obviously that's not for me to decide, but I can see that. Obviously, two very good football teams, and you go through this conference like that, and you got to play each other. You're at the top of the polls in each category. I think that they'll deserve a shot.
Coach, down here on your right, when you talk about LSU Alabama, people around here, I think, are so deep in it, sometimes talk about it so much, it's like you can't see the forest through the trees. But Joe Brady's not from here, right? So what do you think? Does Joe Brady, has he brought a new perspective on this game and how to attack it?
Confidence. He's worked very hard on Alabama. We started on Alabama last spring. First of all, we looked at our game last year where we didn't do very well. with some of the things that we can do better. I think Joe's very good at dissecting film, very good at looking at strengths and weaknesses and putting our guys in the right position. Him and Steve have worked tirelessly all week last week. One went out on Monday. Then Joe stayed in all weekend. Steve stayed in on Monday. He went out on Friday, so they took turns. They've been in the office all week. Obviously, I believe we're going to put our guys in the best position, but as you know, players got to make plays. And we went down there 2 years ago. We had a skinny post open 3 times. We didn't hit it. You got to make the plays, but I do believe we have the quarterback to do it now.
Ed, you have the facilities now and you're winning now. Alabama and LSU put a lot of players in the NFL. When you recruit, how much do you pitch that, and do you kind of maybe put that in the background because it's 3 years away, or you go right for it?
No question. When we recruit, we talk about the NFL a lot. We talk about how many players we have in the NFL, how many first-round draft choices we have, and also about the success that our players have in the NFL, that they don't go to the NFL and just bomb out. They have a lot of success, they're MVPs, and they play for years to come. Believe it or not, this recruiting class that we have recruited, which is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 in the country, it changes, we recruited them without these facilities because of the allure of the SEC, the allure of LSU, because the education, the type of coaching they're going to get. So these facilities are going to help us. Obviously, this is a big game in recruiting. Everybody's going to watch it, but so was the Florida game and so was the Auburn game.
Ed, right here in the middle. With Tua coming off of a surgery on an ankle, maybe limiting his mobility a little bit, how much more important is the pass rush, and how do you, without Justin and Michael now, maybe tweak some of that third down packages?
Well, you know, Steve has taken over. It reminds me a lot of what we did at USC. There was a lot of gap passes. There was a lot of max protection, taking shots, crossing routes down the field. So he's only got sacked 9 times. A lot of people are getting to him. Obviously, on the RPOs, there may be a power and a slant behind it. So the defensive line is playing the run while they're throwing the football behind you. So there's not been a lot of pressure on them. Obviously, last year, I thought we did put some pressure on them, especially with a quarterback that's not very mobile. If he does play, I don't know if he's going to be mobile or not. So we'll find out.
Coach, further talking about defending Alabama, these 4 wide receivers they have that run 4-4 better. It seems like they run these quick slants, they catch it, and it's over.
Yeah.
How do you defend that? And with your defensive backs, you've talked about the best group you've been around.
We were talking about it at 6 o'clock this morning, to be honest with you, about, the outside release slant. And we saw other teams not playing it very well, and they make big plays. We've all seen that. I do believe that if they're playing man coverage, you're probably going to catch the slant. But it should be for a 3 or 4 yard gain, not for a 10 or 15 yard gain. I believe that the tackles that we make in the open field are going to be critical. We're going to have to take those things away. Obviously, when you take those things away, you give up something else, and they're very good at finding it. So it's going to be a chess match. I do believe that Coach Aranda's been working on this for a long time, along with our analysts, and that we have a very good game plan. But it's going to come down to blocking and tackling. It always does.
Coach, over here, there's a lot of talk about quarterback play and wide receiver, but Clyde Edwards-Helaire is coming off of arguably his best game of the season. Just how has he developed as a running back this year and just since he's come to LSU?
Very proud of Clyde. I've said it many times, Clyde, when he walks in the room, he's 6'4". He has a great mentality, has a great pride about himself. He has great vision. Give credit to the offensive line. Obviously, in the Florida game, these guys started running very well. In the Auburn game, they played 7 DBs. It was tough sledding on the pass, and we found a little crack in the run. And so, the biggest thing about Clyde is he takes care of that football. And one of the things that we have to do in this game, we have to take care of the football, cause turnovers. Alabama's plus 13, we're plus 4. So we have to do a very good job of taking care of that football.
Ed, down here, you guys have gone fast in games, slow in games. You changed up formations throughout a game. How better this year have you seen your team adjust game plan during a game?
Yeah, I think our coaches have done a phenomenal job. We're cohesive as a coaching staff. The one thing about Steve Ensming and Joe Brady and Dave Aranda and Greg McMahon, it's about winning the football game. So it's not about stats, but whatever it takes to win the football game. Obviously, we're going to go fast, and we're going to switch it up. It all depends the pulse of the game, and we communicate on the headsets through each series. Should we slow it down? Is the defense tired? Should we keep it up? Do we have to score more points? Should we run the football? It all depends on the flow of the game.
Is it the communication in the middle of the game that makes that work best, or how much of like, the off-season analyst stuff kind of plays into that? Like, what's kind of at the center of that?
I think it's a combination of all that. We have a lot of information. We do have a lot of information, and we know what's best. But when you get in the game, when the bullets are flying, things change, and you got to make decisions on the flow of the game.
Hey, Coach, back up top on your right up here, Coach. How would you describe that environment that you're about to revisit once again in Bryant-Denny Stadium? And for the large number of Tiger fans making the trip up to Tuscaloosa this week, what do you hope to see from them on Saturday afternoon?
Every stadium I've gone to since I've been the head coach of LSU, all I hear is LSU when I get in there. I guess I have selective hearing. But our fans will follow us. Obviously, it's an outstanding atmosphere. I do believe there's nothing like Tiger Stadium on Saturday night that can match it. Obviously, this is going to be like a heavyweight fight. It'll be loud. But you know what? We're used to doing that. We've been on the road, and our team, we're going to have the crowd noise this week. We'll be ready to go.
Coach, what do you remember about Alabama recruiting you out of high school? Did Bear call you, or?
Yeah. Bear was going to come to my house. My daddy said nope.
What would that have been like in your hometown and in your family had you gone?
It would probably been big. I think I forgot the assistant coach that recruited me, and he said, "Coach, we want to come home visit." I asked my dad. He said, that's the way it should be. I wish it was like that today.
Yeah, Ed, a couple of years ago, you said probably that the way to beat Alabama or compete with Alabama was to have as many big physical guys on the line on both sides of the ball as they have. Are you there yet?
We're going to find out. I do believe we're closer. When you look at Tyler Shelvin, he's 6'2", 6'3", 355 pounds, playing like he does. It helps us out. Damian Lewis, I do believe that our offensive line is playing better. So are they as good up front as they've been in the past on the offensive and defensive line? We're going to find out. I do believe we've made up the ground. We'll find out on Saturday.
Coach, to your right in the middle, one of your players last week mentioned that Alabama has a lot of similar plays like you guys have, but they do it in a way where you don't know it's the same play kind of that you guys run. So how do you get your guys prepared for that?
Well, I do believe that we're going to focus in on a lot of formations. There's going to be some tendencies. But as we know, that when you get into the game, like last year, they had new plays for us. They ran an inside trap or whatever you want to call it, Connor on us, and we weren't prepared for it. So I think that we're going to have to prepare for some new plays. They're going to have a new scheme or two for our defense. Obviously, for our offense, defenses, they're going to try new stuff, maybe stuff that we haven't seen before. But I do believe that we're better equipped now to get on the sideline, drop the new plays that we're seeing with all the coaches that we have, and identify them. And we have a much more veteran group that they can make adjustments throughout the game.
Ed, you obviously weren't a part of this game in 2011 when the final score was 9-6, but over this past decade, the last 8 years, how much have you seen college football change from that to now two of the highest scoring offenses in the country?
The spread offense is here to stay. The play of the quarterbacks and the receivers and the athletes, the skilled athletes is much different than 21 personnel. Back then, it used to be 2 backs in the backfield, be a huddle. They take their time. They come to the line of scrimmage, run the play. It's totally different. It's like basketball on grass now. But you know what? That's the way it is. You have to score points now to win in college football.
Ed, towards the middle here, could you just summarize what you make of the quarterback play coming into this game for both teams? And maybe just in your experience, having watched this game since a child, how unusual it might be to have Heisman front runners behind center for both.
Well, I'm glad that we have a great quarterback, and the championship team that I've been on always led by a great quarterback. Whether he was very talented, whether he had grit and character, toughness, I think our quarterback has it all. And obviously, Tua is an outstanding quarterback, so it's good to see. It's really good to see. But I think the one thing that you'll find with both quarterbacks that I know of, because I recruited Tua too, they're team players. It's about their football team. It's about winning, and they're unselfish. I think that's what makes both of these guys outstanding football players.
Ed, sort of a recruiting kind of angle here. You can't sign everyone in these classes. Some Louisiana guys choose Alabama, Alabama guys choose LSU. But when it happens to some of these guys, the Dylan Moses, Devontae Smith, those type of local guys in your backyard, how do you process that when they choose Alabama? And can you talk about your relationship after they choose maybe Alabama moving forward?
Recruiting is a battle, just like football. It's a battle to the very end. But after it's over to me. I mean, it's done. We wish those guys the best. Obviously, we want guys to do very well. I don't wish anything bad about them. Am I going to call them up and have a conversation with them? No, really not. But I really, I focus on the guys that we get. Those are the guys that want to be at LSU. Those are the guys that we told in recruiting, hey, we're going to be where we at right now, and we are. And that we better battle for the national championship when we get the great players, and we are getting the great players, and we are battling to be number one. And where we at, we're going to find out. This is a big test for us.
This summer, Dave Aranda talked about kind of all the different things he's added to the playbook, being more kind of multiple, I guess. I mean, is there still a good amount that he hasn't quite shown this season that he still has left in the tank?
Yeah. If we would run all the stuff that he has up on the board today, it would take 350 plays a game. The guy has a mind and something. He's always working on new stuff. He's putting it in, and then sometimes I got to go in there and go, whoa, wait a minute, man. But he's always working on new stuff. He's going to have something new this game. He always is competing to be the very best. We have a tremendous defensive staff. We have tremendous analysts that have been coordinators. So there's a lot of new ideas every week. It all depends what they present to us so we can defend it.
Coach, over here, we just talked about, every aspect of this game, down to the small details, but just when you break down the film and look at it and look in the mirror, how much does it just motivate you guys, the fact that, they've beaten you the last 8 times, and you just look at it just from that simple fact to say, we want to win?
Obviously in the back of everybody's mind that could be a motivation, but this is a new team, man. They haven't beaten this team yet. And this is a new team. This team has not been there. These are new guys. These are new coaches, and let's see what happens. So, we treat every game as a separate game. If we'd have won eight games in a row, I wouldn't say, hey, we're going to win because we won 8 games in a row. It just doesn't happen that way. So it's a motivation for the fans. It's a motivation for me. Yes, it is. But we're not going to use it at all. This is a new team, new game.
Ed, over here, since 11, they've had McCarron, then Jalen Hurts, and now Tua. The perception has been that they've had a real edge at the quarterback position. Do you think what Joe has been able to put together not only narrows that gap, but puts you even Steven with them and is a big part of what's going to happen this year?
Sure, no question. I think that Joe is, like I said before, I'm not going to say he's the single most important recruit in LSU history, but he's one of the top 5 for sure. And there's some guys that have changed this program, although they've had great players here. Joe is the reason we're able to have the success we're having on offense with the spread offense because he's a leader on the field. He's a quarterback on the field. He's very talented. From what I'm hearing, he's going to be a very high draft choice. He has all the makings of an outstanding pro. I do believe he's as good, for sure, or better than the quarterback we're playing. But the only way to answer that is on the field.
Kind of going off of that, in a game like this, how much more important is for your best players to be, your best players and elevate their game to the next level in order to come home with a win?
I do believe this. They don't have to play any different this game than they played any other game. They just need to play their best. I don't want a player to go in there and think, hey, man, I got to do something that I'm not capable of doing. If we go in there and play our best on all 3 phases of the game, we're going to be fine.
Yeah, Ed, we saw earlier in the year where you guys really turned your attention to tackling during the practice week. Special teams was an issue in the last game. How much of that has been a focus, and how much better do you feel, I guess, moving into this week's preparation?
Yeah, we looked at personnel on special teams. We looked at what we were doing on special teams, especially in our punt and return game. I think that Coach is going to still make adjustments this week. We have some fundamental things to get better at. We're going to get tested, but, Coach McMahon is going to have a great plan.
Coach, when LSU played Alabama in the past, there was this idea that if you shut down one player, Leonard or Darius,
Yeah.
the rest of the offense could pick up the slack. Now, I mean, even your tight end is a big weapon now. I mean, how do you feel about your ability to spread the ball around and different people getting involved?
Feel good. I feel good about Jamar Chase. I feel good about Justin Jefferson. I feel good about Terrence Marshall. I feel good about our backups. I feel good about our tight end. I feel good about our quarterback. I feel good about our 2 running backs. Those guys are going to come ready to play. I believe in these guys. I would not want anybody else in the country on our offense or our defense than our football team that we have right here. I believe in these guys. Thank you, guys. Go Tigers.